It's really annoying how they like do this.
Yeah.
I don't want to see your other clippies.
Get rid of that StreamYard is sharing thing.
I'm getting there.
Live at Pfizer Forum in Milwaukee.
8 Republican candidates have qualified and have chosen to be here on our debate stage tonight. They are here to lay out their vision for America, the battle as they battle for the GOP nomination.
Wow, those are terrible captions.
And I'm Brett Baer.
I want us to grade the charisma of the intro wave, okay? And say who has the best intro wave.
This is the very same stage on which the Republican choice for president will accept the party's nomination next summer. The 8 contenders are positioned by the order they sit in the polls, with the highest polling candidates in the middle standing center stage. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
No wave, okay.
No wave. 0.
No wave. Whoa, a little wave.
President Mike Pence.
Weird.
No
1.
teeth smile.
1.
Smiling wave.
Looks nervous. 5. Confident even
Casual.
against booze. 7.
Former Arkansas Governor
No wave.
Okay.
Boo.
He looked like he was waiting for his name to be
10.
called.
10. Love this guy. Mr. Burger.
I think Nikki Haley had it. She was smiling when it came to her. She was ready. She was prepped.
Some ground rules for tonight. We'll ask the questions.
Tim Scott, definitely the worst. I think he was. I don't know. He wasn't paying attention.
30 seconds to respond. And when the time runs out, we all will hear this. Very pleasant.
So tonight, these candidates have a big opportunity to break out of the pack and to explain why they are best prepared to be the Republican choice for president at a time when the likely Democrat nominee, President Joe Biden, is working to convince the country that with Bidenomics, things are looking up.
They call my plan Bidenomics.
Oh boy.
I'm not sure they meant it in a totally complimentary way at the time. But guess what? It's working.
But is it?
Boo.
It's headed in the wrong direction. And here's the reality for some voters we talked to here in Wisconsin this week.
We have noticed a dramatic increase in prices at the grocery store just across the board.
Gas is high and food is high. A lot of people's out here homeless.
I'm high.
Food.
It's tough when you got mortgage rates at 70% versus 2 to 3. It's just you can't afford a house anymore.
Inflation is ridiculous. It's killing us out here.
As we sit here tonight, the number
come on.
one song on the Billboard chart
Keep
is
him
called
there with his lips moving if you're going to cut him off.
It is by a singer from Farmville, Virginia, named Oliver Anthony. His lyrics
Oh my
speak of
God.
alienation, of deep frustration with the state of government.
They're not, are they?
Washington, D.C. is about 100 miles north of Richmond.
Richmond, north of Richmond.
Chris Christie hates this.
It took James.
She's embarrassed. She's like,
So
what are we
Governor
doing?
DeSantis,
Yeah,
why
she's like, this is a joke, right?
is such a nerve in this country right now? What do you think it means?
Our country is in decline. This decline is not inevitable. It's a choice. We need to send Joe Biden back to his basement and reverse American decline.
My opponent's policies don't go far enough.
So that middle-class
My opponent's policies go too far.
families of the country. If you are working hard and you can't afford groceries, a car, or a new home, while Hunter Biden can make hundreds of thousands of dollars on lousy paintings, that is wrong. We also cannot succeed when the Congress spends trillions and trillions of dollars. Those rich men north of Richmond have put us in this situation. And finally, we need to lower your gas prices. We're going to open up all energy production. We will be energy dominant again in this country. I showed it could be done in the state of Florida. I pledge to you as your president, we will get the job done, and I will
God
not
damn
let
it, I
you
can't hit
down.
space to pause. Who coded your fucking website, Fox? I hate this most of all. When you pause, how it's like, hey, I know you're in the middle of watching something, but here's some other crap. Fuck off. Okay.
Awful.
I keep almost calling this guy Ted Cruz because he's become that irrelevant to me, especially after Vivek Ramaswamy came in. I think he's currently my long shot pick to win it, just because he came in at the right time when everyone was burnt out on these guys, right? And
The Indian bloke next to him.
Mm-hmm. And he's a populist idiot, but he memorizes he's good at memorizing the stuff.
Okay.
And he also said some stuff like talking about to cover he said some weird shit about 9/11, and then to cover his tracks he actually went through and studied 9/11 and was able to be like, and the government lied, and was referencing certain docs, but he was doing it to downplay January 6th, which I think using the victims of 9/11 to downplay January 6th is just as bad as when they were trying to compare it to 9/11 to upplay January 6th.
Yeah,
it's both disgusting to me. Anyway, I keep wanting to call him Ted Cruz. A month ago, I would have never have done that. I guarantee you, I will call him Ted Cruz by mistake at least once.
Thank you. Governor Christie, do you agree with Governor DeSantis just said there? And why would you be better on the economy than him?
Well, look, I do agree predominantly with what Governor DeSantis just laid out. And I think that if you asked every one of us up here, that we would agree predominantly with what he just laid out. Here's the difference. The difference is that we're going to have to work and make sure that we sell these ideas and be able to put ourselves in a position where we get a majority of the vote, not only by winning the Congress and the Senate in 24, but also by having someone who's had the experience of doing it. Now, I was elected as a conservative Republican in a blue state with 61% of the vote.
We've heard it
with
before.
a Democratic legislature against me the entire time. And we still, through hard, strong decision-making, brought them around.
It's like Bernie Sanders only had 3 talking points,
Yeah.
Debt in New Jersey. We made sure that each and every time we were confronted with bad Democratic ideas, we stood and stopped them. And when there were good ideas, we brought people together to make progress going forward. Truth and accountability are the things we need to do to fight waste. And I'd say the last thing is this, Brett. We cannot sit by any longer and allow the kind of spending that's going on in Washington, because every dollar they spend is a dollar that these people are not allowed to spend on their children and their grandchildren. It's robbing our country, and it's wrong.
Can't have it, Brett.
Very quickly.
What are you going to do about it? Lower taxes for the lower middle income class? No.
11 times.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what happens.
They're losing the same amount of money to the government.
Done that, but when you look at what we did on debt, Brett, in that state, we cut debt in that state, debt that had been left to us by 3 Democratic gubernatorial predecessors of mine who ran up that debt tremendously. And what you also saw us do was to cut the unemployment rate in half.
Goober.
Governor in 2010. What we also did was cut pension payments to public employees to make sure that taxpayers were not being soaked by a public employee union system that was killing the taxpayer.
Thank you, Governor.
Tim Scott, Senator Scott, excuse me. The song also goes to welfare program.
Good start.
Poor Tim. I don't know. I'll have to watch it back. They might have not even called his name or something, judging by his reaction. I was talking. I'm not sure if I heard it, but whoa. Yeah, you can tell who's not going to win.
Yeah.
Have you heard this guy talk
senator,
yet?
Now President Biden argued for.
Well, you're about to see why I haven't been able to pull something up for us to cover on him.
Freezing federal spending. This was back in the 80s, and dealing with secret.
He's like
cows.
Republican Jimmy Carter. I swear to God.
You have been a senator, though, for 10 years. So
Hang
what
on,
have
Mitch and
you
Phyllis are
done
fighting.
to rein in the increasing size of government?
Well, thank you for the question. Over the last several years, I've had an opportunity to vote against spending package after spending package after spending package. What we also need to understand is that Joe Biden's Bidenomics has led to the loss of $10,000 of spending power for the average family. When you see 16% inflation, your gas is up 40%, your food is up 20%, your electricity is up 20%. We can stop that by turning the spigot off in Washington, sending the money back to the states, and allowing the decisions to be made at their own houses. I helped write the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act in 2017. We cut taxes For a single mom like the one that raised me by 70%, for dual households by 60%, returning to the average family $4,000. If you don't send it to Washington,
What about,
we can't spend it. That's good news.
What about above
for the
that?
American people.
Okay, but just to follow up, you did, during the Trump administration, you approved 4.4 trillion, 4.1 trillion, 1.7 trillion over the course of that administration. That's a lot of money.
There's no doubt that during the Trump administration, when we were dealing with the COVID virus, we spent more money. But here's what happened at the end of our time in the majority. We had low unemployment, record low unemployment, 3.5% for the majority of the population, 70-year low for women.
What?
African Americans, Hispanics, and Asians had an all-time low, but our inflation was at 2%. Under Joe Biden, we've seen the exact opposite. We've seen inflation explode, which led to 12 Federal Reserve increases that's devastating home buyers today.
Mr. Ramaswamy, you're listening to these answers.
If I may,
Hold on one second.
our
We're
administration, so I don't know if I get a chance to respond.
He didn't mention you specifically, but we'll be with you in a second, Mr. Vice President.
Shut the fuck up, Mike.
Listening to all
Do I talk now?
Voters choose
Is it now the
over
time?
more experienced politicians on this stage. You're basically, a blank slate for people. You're 38 years old. You've said that you only voted in 2 presidential elections before this moment, this political race.
So first, let me just address a question that is on everybody's mind at home tonight.
Oh my God, I hate him.
Who the heck is this skinny guy with a...
Don't you feel like he's trying to sell you something? Like
I hate him.
Like he's an infomercial guy trying to sell you something. You see why this is why this guy's because also he's a businessman, and that's the whole thing with Trump. Like they think that a businessman is going to be good with the economy. He already knows how to sell shit. He's definitely going to win the primary. That's who I have. That's who I have right now for sure.
Last name.
It's definitely not going to be Ron DeSantis.
Stage. I'll tell you, I'm not a politician, Brett. You're right about that. I'm an entrepreneur. My parents came to this country with no money 40 years ago. I have gone on to found multi-billion-dollar companies. I did it while marrying my wife, Apoorva, raising our 2 sons, following our faith in God. That is the American dream. And I am genuinely worried that that American dream will not exist for our 2 sons and their generation unless we do something about it. And I do think Brett is going to take an outsider. Because for a long time, we have professional politicians in the Republican Party who have been running from something. Now is our moment to start running to something.
Oh my!
Our vision of
relax, dude. Because he's such. I told you, he's such a fucking populist, dude.
Over to a new generation to actually fix the problem. That's why I'm in this race, and we're just getting warmed up.
All right, to you, Governor Haley. So why are you better positioned to?
Everyone else is falling asleep.
We've heard all,
all right,
of these
Nikki.
voters talking about.
Come on, Nikki.
And Mr. Ramaswamy, who is a successful
show him what a U.S. ambassador can do.
You in the polls.
Well, I don't care about polls. What I care about the fact is that no one is telling the American people the truth. The truth is that Biden didn't do this to us.
But I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
They left us with
it echoed hard.
They paid 42 million people on food stamps. No one has told you how to fix it. I'll tell you how to fix it. They need to stop the spending. They need to stop the borrowing. They need to eliminate the earmarks that the Republicans brought back in. And they need to make sure they understand these are taxpayer dollars. It's not their dollars. And while they're all saying this, you have Ron DeSantis, you've got Tim Scott, you've got Mike Pence. They all voted to raise the debt. And Donald Trump added $8 trillion to our debt. And our kids are never going to forgive us for this. And so at the end of the day, you look at the 2024 budget, Republicans asked for $7.4 billion in earmarks. Democrats asked for $2.8 billion. So you tell me who are the big spenders. I think it's time for an accountant in the White House.
Vice President Pence.
Oh, good response on her.
You mentioned there.
She definitely, and she didn't need to hype up the crowd the whole time either. To keep people engaged with what she was saying. I was just thinking about for a Republican debate, the diversity here, right? Because like
one woman, one brown guy.
Well, she's also what did this Stanford paper say? It was something like someone of 2 different ethnic descents or something.
54% of voters say the cost of groceries is a, quote, major problem for them.
Right.
You blamed the Biden administration spending for that increase. But as vice president, your administration spent more than any prior, $7.8 trillion added to the national debt, $3.5 trillion of that before COVID. So does that mean that you're part of the spending problem?
Yes.
Well, first off, thanks for the question. Thanks for letting me respond to a reference to our administration's record. I'm incredibly proud of the record of the Trump-Pence administration. I mean, in 4 short years, we rebuilt our military. We revived our economy. We unleashed American.
Why would anybody vote for this?
He almost had a please clap moment, right? Because people started to clap, right? Because the origins of please clap is that he was people were starting to clap, and then he was saying, "Oh no, go ahead," but it just came out as like the desperate please clap for me. He almost
for the right to
see, now they're going.
Now, Martha, you asked earlier who's the most best prepared for this job.
She did not. That is the worst English we've heard on stage. Most best prepared. Did you put on your daddy's tie to come out here? Are you children on somebody's shoulders
and I must
right
say,
now?
with all due respect to all of my friends on the stage, and even to one that's probably looking on, I think unquestionably I am the best prepared, the most tested, the most qualified and proven conservative in this race. I was a leader in the Congress of the United States.
What did you do?
I led Indiana where we balanced budgets and had a AAA bond rating.
He prevented the democracy from being overthrown, even though he couldn't really do anything either. Because that was the
I think
whole thing.
most people will probably see you as a traitor, considering that you snitched on Trump.
No, because
when I was governor. And as Vice
those
President
people
of the United States,
don't care about the
we
Constitution.
spent funding to
Mike Pence
backfill
does,
on
at least.
the military cuts of the Obama administration, and then we were there in the worst pandemic in 100 years. All that being said, I was the first person in this race to say that we've got to deal with the long-term national debt issues. You got people on this stage that won't even talk about issues like Social Security and Medicare. I mean, Vivek, you recently said,
now he gets to respond.
Everything. Well, I got news for you, Vivek. I've been in the hallway. I've been in the West Wing. A president of the United States has to confront every crisis facing America. I will put our nation back on the path to growth and
speak faster, you wax figure. Shut
Come
the fuck
on.
up.
Just as I did.
Stop talking.
And as governor,
Mr. Vice President,
and when I was vice president.
Oh my God!
Dude,
Shut the fuck up,
bro. He was just going. I'm going to see how long I can get this sentence to go until they tell me to cut off. Right. So he was just adding two words at the end until they were like, hey, shut up, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, you were named earlier. I'm going to give Vivek first.
We'll get to both of
Yeah, this isn't that complicated, guys. Unlock American energy, drill, frack, burn coal, embrace nuclear. Put people back to work by no longer paying them more.
Embrace nuclear. I love that.
Stabilize the U.S. dollar and go to war. The only war that I will declare as U.S. president will be the war on the federal administrative state that is the source of those toxic regulations acting like a wet blanket.
Libertarians' wet dream.
I'm not sure I exactly understood Mike Pence's comment, but
is this year's Gary Johnson?
The U.S. president can do with focus. And
he just went mask off. Did you hear that?
No, I missed it.
Let me explain it to you.
I'm not sure
oh my God, Mike Pence is going to get an own on this guy.
Paying them more to stay at home, reform the U.S. Fed, stabilize the U.S. dollar, and go to war. The only war that I will declare as U.S. president will be the war on the federal administrative state that is the source of those toxic regulations acting like a wet blanket on the economy. So I'm not sure I exactly understood Mike Pence's comment, but I'll let you all parse that out. For me, it's pretty simple. That's something a U.S. president can do with focus.
Mask off, dude.
Well, let me explain it to you.
He just came here with populist rhetoric. Nothing in his brain.
I sometimes struggle with the reading comprehension.
Look, I was a House conservative leader before it was cool. I actually pushed a deficit reduction act. That was the last time we actually national debt in the United States. When I was the leader.
Oh my God.
I
Stop.
balanced budgets and cut taxes when I was Biden has weakened this country at home and abroad. Now is not the time for on-the-job training. We don't need to bring in a rookie. We don't need to bring in people without experience. We need to bring
They're losing control.
Hold on. It's 30 seconds when you have a rebuttal, okay? And you are up, Governor DeSantis.
So here's the thing. Why are we in this mess? Part of it, and a major reason, is because how this federal government handled COVID-19 by locking down this economy. It was a mistake. It should have.
Great job capitalizing off that heat.
We led the country out of lockdown. We kept our state free and open.
It's fading.
And
Fading
I can
fast.
tell you this:
The
as your
heat's
president,
fading. The heat's
I will
fading.
Never let
It's
the
cold.
deep state bureaucrats lock you down. You don't take
I don't
somebody
care
like
anymore.
Fauci and coddle him.
Oh,
You bring
my God.
Fauci in. You sit him down.
And you give him a spanking. You tell him, bad Fauci with your ouchies. Fucking loser.
We're going to bring in.
I just want to finish responding to Mike. I just want to respond to Mike for 1 second because he invoked me back. Listen, now that everybody's gotten their memorized, pre-prepared slogans out of the way, we can actually have a real discussion now.
That's funny.
Not really, Mike, actually. We're just going to have some fun tonight. And the reality is, you have a bunch of people, professional politicians, super PAC puppets, following slogans handed over to them by their 400-page super PACs last week. The real choice we face in this primary is this. Do you want a super PAC puppet, or do you want a patriot who speaks the truth? Do you want incremental reform, which is what you're doing?
Patriot can't be brown.
Revolution.
Okay.
Whoa.
We're going to take control back here.
I'm embodying the
Said
Republican.
rather than incrementalism, bro, he's gonna get the Marxists behind him.
Who we have not heard from yet, so let's hear from Governor.
Can you imagine?
From Governor Hutchinson on the economy, sir.
Well, great. Thank you, Martha. And
who are you?
From a town of 300 people, it's a big deal to make it on this stage.
That makes sense why we don't know who the fuck this is. He's from a town of 300 people.
They were all wishing me well, and I think I took them a little too literally when they said, go to Milwaukee and break a leg. So, but I do want to say on this, we're missing something. We can't just talk about the Biden economy because the economy, energy, and national security are all tied together. Of course, we're paying too much for our energy in our state, in our country right now.
You were doing
part
good.
of the reason why is because of the Biden policies on energy. We've got a plan right now, the $1.2 trillion of Green New Deal spending.
This is such a
buried in the
stupid thing
Inflation
to say,
Creation.
but this whole thing about the energy policy, like we're energy independent for the first time.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
I have no idea.
Start buying batteries from
They're
China.
just lying. No, they're like you don't have an informed voter population.
The Biden administration says no. We're going to put sanctions on Russian oil. Well, we put sanctions on Russian oil. Well,
who cares?
20% off. Who's buying it? China.
We weren't buying Russian oil.
Solar panel. It's in a plant in China powered by coal, or it's being powered by oil and gas at 20% off. And every farmer in this country would like to buy diesel at 20% off, just like they're buying it in China.
Governor Hutchinson, quickly.
We pay lower gas prices than anyone in the world.
Here tonight, and let me just tell you that I'm a pro-life.
Who are you?
From a conservative state that have a conservative record in which
Arkansas.
In Arkansas as governor. I created a $2 billion.
This is one of those puppet people, you know, like this is a flapjack character.
And
no, he's a lizard. He's a reptilian.
Of government.
Oh no! He's
14%
definitely one of those wooden-looking things from Misadventures of Flapjack.
After I left government, than when I took over as governor 8 years ago. I tell that because that's what we need in
Get off the stage.
We need
Where's Tim Scott?
That can actually reduce the size, and I've pledged to reduce by 10% our federal non-defense workforce. That's a specific pledge to make that attacks the administrative state.
All right.
And let me applaud some of the business partners that are here that have had success in business. But let me tell you, I've been a federal prosecutor. I've served our country.
They need the Kill Tony bear to shut them the fuck up.
That experience that is important for the
he's
future
got an
of our
Israel and
country
America flag
to be
pin.
the president of the United States.
Pandering much?
With
Pandering much?
Thank you. We have a lot of topics to get to, and I promise we're going to get to everyone if we play within the rules. Okay, next topic. More than 1,000 people.
They're not going to play within the rules, and you don't want them to either. Come on, guys. You know how this works.
In more than a century. Hawaii's governor and White House officials said that climate change amplified the cost of human error.
And a tropical storm hit California for the first time in 84 years. The ocean hit 101 degrees off the coast of Florida.
Also, it's
And
on
the last
fire
month,
in
the heat wave
Canada,
in the
in
Southwest
Washington,
broke
and
records
Oregon.
nearly 50 years old.
So Alexander Diaz from Young America's Foundation has a question for you.
Polls consistently show that young people's #1 issue is climate change. How will you, as both President of the United States and leader of the Republican Party, calm their fears that the Republican Party doesn't care about climate change?
So we want to start on this with a show of hands. Do you believe in human behavior is causing climate change? Raise your hand if you do.
Well, look, we're not school children. Let's have the debate. I mean, I'm
Arkansas raised his hand.
So do you want to raise your hand or not? I don't think that's the way to do. So let me just say that.
Did he just fucking butt in, did he?
One of the reasons our country's decline is because of the way the corporate media treats Republicans versus Democrats. Biden was on the beach.
Oh, you fatty.
He said, are you kidding me? As somebody that's handled disasters in Florida, you got to be activated. You've got
Yeah, you're the disaster in Florida.
helping people who are doing this.
And answer the question?
And here's the deal.
Let's just answer the question.
So is that a yes or is that?
They called him. They said, "Can we stop filibustering and answer the question?"
No, I didn't raise a hand.
Let us be honest as Republicans. I'm the only person on the stage who isn't bought and paid for, so I can say this.
Oh,
The climate
bullshit.
change agenda is a hoax. The
Oh,
climate
Jesus Christ.
and we have to declare independence for it. And the reality is, the anti-carbon agenda is the wet blanket. Wet blanket. More people are dying of bad climate change policies than they are of actual climate change.
Governor Haley, are you bought and
The death
paid
rate
for?
is down by 98%
Hold
in the last century.
Listen. Wait, hold on.
Let Chris Christie talk, please.
I've had enough already tonight of a guy who sounds like ChatGPT standing up here.
He can't. He had to stop looking at him. Because this guy. He knew if he looked at him, he'd start laughing. Chris Christie. You know.
These debates, Brett, who stood in the middle of the stage and said, "What's a skinny guy with an odd last name doing up here?" was Barack Obama, and I'm afraid we're dealing with the same type of amateur standing on stage tonight.
Come over and give me a hug. Give me a hug just like you did to Obama.
The same type of amateur.
And you'll help elect me just like you did to Obama, too. Give me that
The
bear
same
hug, brother.
type of amateur.
Hold on.
Tom Scott's talking.
Would you like to respond? Are you
So
bought and
Brett,
paid
what I
for?
would like to say is the fact that I think this is exactly why Margaret Thatcher said, if you want
Oh,
something
fuck.
said, ask a man.
Oh, God.
Done, ask a woman.
Good quote to call on, though.
All those are a lot of women voices cheering for her too.
It is. It's a very good quote to call on.
Water, we want to see that taken care of, but there's a right
And for
way
once,
to do
it's
it.
not
And the
like
right
what was the one they've always been doing lately? I know.
Which one? The Eisenhower quote?
Yes, they always are doing Eisenhower. That's the one they've been doing. They were doing someone else too a lot, and I'm trying to remember who that was. They try to invoke JFK about keep the peace a lot. Like
That's
RFK
funny.
did that, and other people did as well. They'll do it's JFK and Eisenhower.
way to do it is, first of all, yes, is climate change real? Yes, it is. But if you want to go and really change the environment, then we need to start telling China and India that they have to lower their emissions.
There you go. You fucking nailed it.
This is actually great.
And these green subsidies
She
that
nailed
Biden
it.
put in, all he's done is help China because he doesn't understand all these electric
come on.
vehicles that he's done. What that does, half of the batteries for electric vehicles are made in China. And so that's not helping the environment. You're putting money in China's pocket, and Biden did that. So first of all, I think we need to acknowledge the truth, which is these subsidies are not working. We also need to take on the international world and say, okay, India and China, you've got to stop polluting. And that's when we'll start to deal with
Senator Scott, are you bought and paid for?
Absolutely.
Are you bought and paid for?
I'm sorry.
Are you bought and paid
Absolutely not. I mean, here's what the American people deserve.
I believe he just said absolutely, and then absolutely not.
There's a debate.
Wait. We should get that as a soundbite.
Are you bought and paid for?
Are you bought and paid for? Absolutely.
and say, okay, India and China, you've got to stop polluting. And that's when we'll start to deal with
Senator Scott, are you bought and paid for?
Absolutely.
Are you bought and paid for? Are you bought and paid
Absolutely not. I mean, here's what the American people deserve is a debate about the issues that affect their lives. Going back and forth being childish is not helpful to the American people to decide on the next leader of our country. Number one, wait a second. And number two, as a kid who grew up in a single parent household mired in poverty, I wondered, was the American dream real for kids who are devastated by poverty, devastated by the challenges of life? I came to the conclusion that America can do for anyone what she's done for me if we focus on restoring hope, creating
You just assume
opportunities,
America's gender.
America. If we want the environment to be better, and we all do, the best thing to do is to bring our jobs home from China. If we create 10 million new
That's good
jobs
rhetoric,
in my
too.
Made in America plan, we will have a better economy and a better environment. Let me tell you why I say that, Brett. America.
Do it quickly.
Let me tell you why I said that.
I'm gonna say
Let me tell you.
so America.
That's funny.
America has cut our carbon footprint in half in the last 25 years. The places where they are continuing to increase, Africa, 950 million people. India, over 1 billion. China, over 1 billion. Why would we put ourselves at a disadvantage
Come on,
in
dude.
our own economy? Let's bring our jobs home.
We got double time.
A lot of different topics to get to.
Yeah, we do. We thank you all.
Okay,
Thank you, Senator
we're not
Scott.
going to
So
call on
coming
you
up
again
next,
because you
candidates
took
will
way
weigh
too
in
long. Go fuck
on what
yourself,
could be the
Tim.
defining
Or Tom, what's your name?
campaign. The first Republican debate continues moments away.
Oh, that's why they had to get to the commercial. He was the producer's like, shut him up, ding him again.
For Republicans since the Dobbs decision. In 6 state
abortion
referendums,
question.
all have
Here we
upheld
go.
abortion rights in this country. And
Tim
even
Scott
in
had
red
a really
states,
funny
there are
on this
more swing
response in
state
like an ad or
referendums that are
something.
coming up as we head into the elections as well on this.
He
So, Governor
completely
Haley, what do you
transitioned to an
say to
answer
your
about
party
tractors or something,
and
about
your
economy and tractors. I don't remember.
a 6-week abortion law as well, especially the impact
Invoke
on
your womanhood.
women suburban voters across this country.
Thank you, Martha. I am unapologetically pro-life, not because the Republican Party tells me to be, but because my husband was adopted and I had trouble having both of my children. So I'm surrounded by blessings. Having said that, we need to stop demonizing this issue. This is talking about the fact that unelected justices didn't need to decide something this personal because it's personal for every woman and man. Now it's been put in the hands of the people. That's great. When it comes to a federal ban, let's be honest with the American people and say it will take 60 Senate votes. It will take a majority of the House. So in order to do that, let's find consensus. Can't we all agree that we should ban late-term abortions? Can't we all agree that we should encourage adoptions? Can't we all agree that doctors and nurses who don't believe in abortion shouldn't have to perform them? Can't we all agree that contraception should be available? And can't we all agree that we are not going to put a woman in jail or give her the death
Late-term
penalty
abortions only
if she
happen
gets
like for medical emergencies, right?
Yes, for the most part, yeah.
It's not even a real thing. It's just rhetoric. It's a free rhetoric point that they can throw out and them look like they're. She's clearly pro-choice.
Yes. Yeah. Obviously.
It's an abortion. Let's treat this like a respectful issue that it is.
Mike Pence has been making it his thing to like be the most pro-abortion out of all the candidates. Appeal to the radical Christians.
That's hilarious.
6-week abortion ban in Florida.
He's grinding his teeth again.
Financial backers said that you need to quote,
Sniffy
shift
McAdderall
to get moderates lose. What do you say to him and others who say politically that is a tough thing to sell nationally?
Well, I would say we sold the biggest election landslide victory in the history of the Republican Party in the state of Florida in 2020.
Oh my God, he's so boring.
We can win. But second of all, look, you got to do what you think is right. I believe in a culture of life. I was proud to sign the heartbeat bill. I remember one of the most impactful moments of my life was when I heard the...
You don't believe in a culture of life. You're complacent in the torture program.
heartbeat of my oldest daughter in my wife's womb, and then saw the sonograms of all 3 of my kids. What the Democrats are trying to do on this issue is wrong, to allow abortion all the way up to the moment of birth. I know a lady in Florida named Penny. She survived multiple abortion attempts.
Not Penny.
Left discarded in a pan. Fortunately, her grandmother saved her and brought her to a different hospital. We're better than what the Democrats are selling. We are not going to allow abortion all the way up till birth, and we will hold them accountable for their extremism.
But just to be clear, Governor, would you sign a 6-week ban federally?
I'm going to stand on the side of life. Look, I understand Wisconsin is going to do it different
That's a
than
no.
Texas. I understand Iowa and New Hampshire are going to do different. But I will
The answer is
support
no.
the cause of life.
Just say
as
no.
governor and as president.
Vice
must
President
have
Pence, you're shaking your head.
We must have a national.
Hold on, Senator. Vice President Pence, you're shaking your head.
Well, look, I'm not new to this cause. After I gave my life to Jesus Christ as my Lord and
boy.
Savior,
Oh
I
my
opened
fucking god. Oh my god.
Dude,
Yeah,
he
dude.
paused. He paused. He just had a please clap moment.
Please clap.
That pause was
Book, and
totally
I
a
read.
please clap.
Well, look, I'm not new to this cause. Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, I opened up the book and I read, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And see, I set before you life and death, blessings and curses, now choose life. And I knew from that moment on, the cause of life had to be my cause. And I've been a champion for life in the Congress, a champion for life as governor and as vice president. And to be honest with you, Nikki, you're my friend, but consensus is the opposite of leadership. When the Supreme Court returned this question to the American people, they didn't just send it to the states only. It's not a states only issue, it's a moral issue. And I promise you, as President of the United States, the American people will have a champion
You're taking her
for
out of
life
context.
in the Oval Office. Can't we have a minimum
She
standard
said if it's going to
in
be
every
something
state in the
federally, it
nation
should
that
come
says
to.
when a baby is capable of feeling pain, an abortion cannot be allowed. A 15-week ban is an idea whose time has come. It's supported by 70% of the American people.
No, it's not.
But it's going to take unapologetic leadership that stands on principle and expresses compassion
I
for
wanna
women in crisis
hold on.
pregnancies. I'll do that.
Shut up, Mike.
Let Nikki talk. We like her more.
30 seconds.
So first of all, I will say it is in the hands of the people, and that's where it should be. But when you're talking about a federal ban, be honest with the American people. We haven't had 45 pro-life senators in over 100 years. So no Republican president can ban abortions any more than a Democrat president could ban all those state laws.
yes,
Don't make
she's
women
right.
feel like they have to decide
could
on this
override
issue
it
when
so
you know
quick.
we don't have 50 Senate votes in the House anymore than a
I just wanted to
Democrat
pause.
president could ban all.
Nikki coming in and actually explaining to people how government works and reminding them that the president isn't a dictator is shit that I appreciate, especially coming from the Republican Party. Because Biden, I mean, that's a straight up Biden thing where he's like people think that he's just like this dictator and the left gets mad at him. But he'll tell you, he's been saying straight up that it's consensus based. It's still a democracy.
Republican president can ban abortions any more than a Democrat president could ban all those state laws. Don't make women feel like they have to decide on this issue when you know we don't.
And that's the thing. This is why they're getting mad at Biden, saying, "Why don't you sign it into law?" He can't.
Yeah.
The Republicans will block it unless he makes a consensus. And if he makes a consensus, it's going to hurt him more. If he signs in a federal ban on all states, because that's the only consensus he can make.
Yeah.
So people don't get it, and it's like one of those things that can just be held.
It's like everything else that people don't get.
In the House,
70% of the American people support legislation
But
to ban
70% of
abortion
the
after
Senate
a baby is
does
capable
not.
of experiencing pain.
It's
just going to take leadership.
Hold on.
70% of the Senate does not. You have to be honest with the
We have to
American
have a
people.
15-week
All right,
limit.
let's get Governor Bergman for one minute here. But the Supreme Court did overturn Roe v. Wade, and the
Come on, Governor Berger.
decision was that it went back to the states. So that's where it is right now. So as I understand it, you are not in
Is that Andrew Cuomo in a disguise?
ban. The states, there's about 5 of them, including New Jersey, I think a few others, that allow abortion up until the time of birth, though. If you were president, would you be able to abide that?
Well, first of all, I'm a pro-life governor of a very pro-life state. And this issue is, of course, very important. But I am on the record, and I stand behind that we should not have a federal abortion ban. We should not. And the reason why we shouldn't is very simple. It's the 10th Amendment in the Constitution.
Nice.
In the Constitution.
Nice. A pocket constitution.
It says that there were certain duties allowed to the federal government delegated to them by the
Teabagging
states.
Mike
The
Pence
rest are
right now.
left to the states, comma, or importantly, or to the people. We need to get back to freedom and
Interesting. Using the Constitution.
and we can't have Republicans who fight for 50 years for this great cause
and win.
to return it back to the states. And then the next day they turn around and go, no, the feds should do that, because the feds are stepping into people's lives. They're stepping into people's businesses over and over. If we say that the feds should be in on this one, where do we stop? I say that we follow the Constitution and this is returned to the states. This is where it should
But
be.
Governor Burgum, you signed a 6-week ban. Time out. You signed a 6-week ban. Governor Burgum, you signed a 6-week ban.
Tim Scott has been trying to talk every time he's gotten an opportunity here. And they're punishing him for that ad break time that he took up earlier.
Yeah.
So you're saying federally, it's all going to go to the states?
Yes, and what is going to work in New York will never work in North Dakota, and vice versa. That's
Governor
why
Hutchinson, right here.
50 states.
This is too important of an issue that I have to address. First of all, the Supreme Court gave it
Come on, Arkansas.
representatives, whether it's the states or whether it's the United States Congress.
That's
So there
right.
is authority, and that's why President Biden is pushing for a Democrat proposal, which is, in essence, abortion on demand through the term. So they have their extreme position at
why not?
the level. It's most likely going to be addressed in the states, but it's certainly fine for it to be addressed at the national level as well. Arkansas has the record of being the most pro-life state in the nation. I signed 30 pro-life pieces of legislation while I was governor. And every state can determine a different outcome here. And it is the most important issue for women and for the unborn child and for our country that we get this right. It's going to be a continued debate. Let's talk about it in terms of compassion, in terms of protecting the life, and also understanding how we have to enhance adoption services, how we have to enhance maternal care.
Enhance abortion
those
services. Enhance abortion.
Enhance. Okay, here's how I would answer the question. Is it my kid? No, not my problem.
Yeah, well, that would be the liberal position, which is also they can abort it day of as it's coming out of the vagina. They can put a baby guillotine there and cut its head off. You know.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't think that would be the liberal position.
No. That's how they respond to that type of shit.
Like,
have you never heard about the baby guillotines? This is a real thing. That's,
no.
Like, I think it's like a straw man that they make fun of them with. But somebody said like they're killing the baby as it comes out or something. And then there's the whole thing. Who said it? It was like we have to keep it alive to harvest its organs. Who is that?
you gotta farm the adrenochrome somehow.
No, so because they do take like samples from the fetus, right? And so you need those organs and tissues alive. But the thing is, it's not like a living sentient thing. Like cells can live.
Yeah. We've done in Arkansas and are important for our nation's future.
There are a lot of issues that are very important. Senator, I'll let you break me in.
We cannot let states like California, New York, and Illinois have abortions on demand up until the day of birth. That is immoral.
Hi, Tim. What state are you the senator for? South Carolina? Shut the fuck up.
You know why this is funny? Like I said before, he had a weak answer on this, and he couldn't answer before on like a clip, and he got hammered for that clip. Like that was the only thing people saw of him, right? Until this. So now he keeps on going, I got to get in on this. I got to get in on this. I got to rectify another mistake.
Let's have a president of the United States who will advocate and fight for, at the minimum, a 15-week limit. I am 100% pro-life conservative. I have 100% pro-life record. I got to tell you, though, we must fight for life. Our Declaration of Independence says our Creator gave us inalienable rights that include life. That is a list. That is an issue we must solve. We can't leave it to Illinois. We can't leave it to Minnesota. We can't leave it to Illinois.
You said Illinois twice.
Issue with a
He
15-week
did say
limit
Illinois
at a
twice.
minimum.
Thank you,
Brett,
Senator.
I think we're all pro-life, but
Thank
what
you.
I would love is for someone to ask Biden and Kamala Harris, are they for 38 weeks? Are they for 39 weeks? Are they for 40 weeks? Because that's what the media needs to be asking.
All right, another issue is America and the crime crisis, the homelessness crisis. American cities are in decline. People are moving out as homelessness, drugs, crime move in. There are problems accelerated. They did accelerate during the pandemic and are still rising. Actually.
San Francisco,
Murders in
Los Angeles.
New York, Chicago, all up 30% between 2019 and 2022.
How's Houston doing?
Homelessness is up 11%, the largest jump in
I
recorded
wonder how much homeless Austin has.
A lot of this began in the COVID era. How much of what we're seeing happening around this country is a result of those COVID lockdowns? And is your administration in part to blame for how we got here?
Well, I think what's in part to blame is the Democrats been talking about defunding the police.
Okay.
For the last 5 years.
Talking about have they?
Enforcement.
No, they funded them.
Cities at unprecedented levels. I mean, it's extraordinary to think about the violence that's claiming innocent lives literally every week in every major city in this country. And yet Democrats and liberal prosecutors in major metropolitan areas continue to work out their fanciful agendas, to do bail reform and go easy. What we need is strong commitment to law enforcement. We need leadership in Washington, D.C. Marshal the resources of the states, marshal the resources.
Marshal.
But let me also say it's about opportunity.
Marshal.
I mean, a lot of people don't know that those Trump-Pence tax cuts that we got signed into law go
I mean, we
away
saw what their police
at the end of
department did.
2025 if we don't have a Republican president and a Republican House and a Republican Senate.
They were told to stand
absolute
down.
control. Okay, bro.
They were told to stand down while a mob raided the Capitol.
And we're going to close the federal Department
They
of
used tear gas
Education,
on peaceful
block grant all
protesters
that
outside the
funding
White
back
House so
to the
Trump could
states
pose with a
growing
Bible upside down.
economy,
They almost crashed a
and law
helicopter onto
enforcement. We will bring
protesters in
us
D.C. That was your admin, bro.
Another issue this weekend here in Milwaukee, reports say there were 30 shootings, and a number of them including kids. Add that to the big increase in school shootings around the country. Democrats blame this crisis for access to guns. They also blame Republicans for blocking gun control legislation. What would President Christie do?
You know, I'm proud of the fact, Brett, that I'm the only
free guns with your McDonald's
age who's actually running United States Attorney's Office. I ran the 5th largest office in America in a state where there is significant urban crime. And the problem is not going to be solved by more money. The problem is that these prosecutors in these localities in the state are refusing to do their job to arrest violent criminals. So what a President Christie would do is appoint an attorney general.
They're not going to say that, though, not in the debate.
No.
They won't say woke
US
either.
Attorneys, that they are to take over the prosecution of violent crime in every one of those cities that are failing to do so. We have plenty of room in the federal prisons to lock up these violent criminals and clean up what's going on all across this country in these individual cities. Secondly, what we need to make sure that each and every one of these criminals understand is that the laws apply to everybody. And when Hunter Biden fills out application.
Isn't this his second Hunter Biden thing?
For a gun.
I don't think it was him.
No, DeSantis brought it up before, right?
Mandatory minimum, which was mandated by legislation sponsored by his father. And then you have a Justice Department that walks away from those charges. We're telling people that the law doesn't apply to everybody. In a Christie administration, he would go to jail for 10 years.
What about a President Ramaswamy? What does a President Ramaswamy do about guns?
So the reality is we have a crime wave in this country and we know how to fix it. The question is, do we actually have the spine to do it? More cops in the streets who are on the streets able to do their jobs without looking over their shoulder for getting sued. And we also have a mental health epidemic in this country.
So extrajudicial assassinations up.
We have seen a spike in violent crime. Do we have the spine to bring them back? I think we should. As president, I will. But it's not just drugging up people in those psychiatric institutions with Zoloft and Seroquel. It's a deeper issue. I think
reopen psychiatric mental state hospitals.
A national identity crisis. And I say
The places where people
Arkham,
got
he's
fucking
going to open
abused.
Arkham Asylum.
country right now.
Come on, Arkham, yeah.
Epidemic.
Vote 1 for Arkham.
For and meaning at a time when family, faith, patriotism.
I hope somebody blames this on Mexico.
What we really
That's
need
going to be the funny
is
one.
reset from the top, saying that this is what it means to be an American. Yes, we will stand for the rule of law. Yes, we will close the southern border where criminals are coming in every day. And
There
yes,
you
we
go.
will back law enforcement
Called it.
because we remember who we really are.
Racist.
That's also how we address that
bootlicking racists
in the next generation that is directly leading to violent crime
Can I
across
speak
this
on behalf
country.
of
Governor
the American
DeSantis,
people
really
here?
quickly. Governor DeSantis.
We don't have an identity crisis with that. We're not looking for a new national identity. The American people are the most faith-filled, freedom-loving, idealistic, hardworking people the world has ever known. We just need government as good as our people.
Well, Mike, I think the difference is you might have some others that
I
like
don't know about that.
America's speech.
If it's a democracy, you mean you just have to make it more democratic
the fact
to make it
that
more
we're
like the
in an
people.
internal sort of cold cultural civil
You
war,
are
and we have to
equating the
recognize
American
that in
people
order
with
to
the
actually
failed
win.
government in Washington, D.C. We just need government as good as our people again.
So let me just finish addressing that
I
slogan
weigh
because
in
I don't know
here.
what that slogan
Brett,
means.
Mark,
We
I
need to
want you
shut
to
down
weigh
the
in, Governor
administrative
DeSantis.
state. Mark, that's actually how we translate.
Crime has been on the rise in Florida, Governor DeSantis. How do you stop crime?
Yeah, isn't Florida like one of the worst?
Not in Florida.
Yes, it is.
Happy with that. Well, the statewide, it's a 50-year low. And so
No, it
here's the
isn't.
thing. These hollowed out cities, this is a symptom of America's decline. And one of the biggest reasons is because you have George Soros funding these radical left-wing district
I
attorneys.
was wrong.
They
Somebody
get
brought
into
it up.
office And they say they're not going to prosecute crimes. They disagree.
You're
with
saying the same
inmates
thing
who
as
are
Chris
running the
Christie,
asylum. There's
except
one
with
guy
George
in
Soros.
this entire country that's ever done anything about that. Me. When we had two of these district attorneys in Florida elected with Soros funding who said they wouldn't do their
Say
job,
Zuckbucks too while you're at it.
removed them from
Please say
their post. They are
Zuckbucks.
gone. And as president, we are going to go after all of these people because they are hurting the quality of life and they are victimizing innocent people in every corner of this country, and it will stop when I get into office.
Okay, one more here before the break, Governor.
I already forgot what he said. I was afraid to talk about
I
it.
just thought it was interesting. You asked your question about the problems we're having in big cities. Nobody ever asked the question of what about the crime wave in small towns? Because in a small town, neighbors help neighbors.
Try that in a small town.
Everybody comes together and helps them. There's accountability. There's transparency. One thing that I think this country could use is somebody in the White House that understands small town values, because that's our road back to get this country on track again.
I don't disagree with that.
Pretty weak response from the
As
crowd.
former head of the DEA, I understand the drug crisis.
This guy
in
scares the
America.
fuck out of me,
And
bro.
right now, whenever you look at the challenges in our inner city,
His eyes.
there's three simple words that would
I
be
feel like he's
helpful.
gonna blink
One,
sideways.
enforce the law. Crime. Secondly, let's deal with the challenge of fentanyl. And it's both about stopping the fentanyl coming from Mexico, but it's
Yes.
also about education
China.
of our young people, making sure
Bomb
that we
Mexico.
have the tools that are needed for addiction counseling. That's what we expanded in Arkansas
Okay.
as well.
Good.
Whenever you look at the underlying challenge of America, though, no one likes to see an America with smash and grab in our inner cities.
I do. It's hilarious.
Will stop. It starts at the top with the respect for our justice system that a former president who's under indictment has undermined
Nice.
by attacking judges, by attacking prosecutors, by attacking the system and saying he's aggrieved. And so we have to have respect
You know
for
what?
our justice
He's got nothing to
system
lose.
and the
So he
rule of
might as
law.
well be the guy
He
who
might as well.
goes after
Yeah.
Trump.
with the president of the United States.
Someone needs to be.
So, speaking of that, right now you are looking live at Fulton County Jail, where former President Donald Trump will be processed tomorrow.
Who cares?
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, Rudy Giuliani. Have you seen Giuliani's mugshot? Giuliani
His
went in today?
mugshot's out? No, I haven't.
A diversion tactic.
Jail for
Yeah.
charges relating to the 2020 election loss.
You all signed a pledge to support the eventual Republican nominee. If former President Trump is convicted in a court of law, would you still support him as your party's choice? Please raise your hand if you
Interesting
would.
question. Ooh. Oh, Nikki, no. Boo.
Chris Christie waited to see.
Hold on.
Only one guy
Did he
didn't
put his
raise.
hand up?
Governor Christie, you were kind of late to the game there, but you raised your hand.
No, I'm doing this. Look, I'm doing this.
And
not
I know
this.
you didn't.
Whoa. No.
He's backing out at the last second. What a bitch. He was like, and he's like, no, I'm shaking my hand. I'm saying no.
Look, here's the bottom line. Someone's got to stop normalizing this conduct. Okay?
There was an audible guy who yelled yes in the crowd.
Yeah, I heard that, yeah.
And
mixed boos and claps.
Whether or not you believe that the criminal charges are right or wrong, the conduct is beneath the office of President of the United States.
Ooh. Oh, there could come the booze.
And you know, this is the great thing about this country. Booing is allowed,
nice,
but it doesn't change the truth.
Mr. Ramaswamy, you raised your hand supporting.
I'd like to get in and respond. Let's just speak the truth, okay? President Trump, I believe, was the best president of the 21st century. It's a fact.
Well, you're a fucking idiot, my friend.
Honest to God, your claim that Donald Trump is motivated by vengeance and grievance would be a lot more credible if your entire campaign were not based on vengeance and grievance against one man. And if people at home want to
He's right. Good insult to Chris.
Donald Trump without an iota
Donald Trump did try to kill him, though.
They could
Tried to kill Mike Pence, too, but Mike Pence is still a bitch.
But I'm not running for president of MSNBC. I am running for president of the United States. We're skating on thin ice, and we cannot set a precedent where the party in power uses police force to indict its political opponents. It is wrong.
He's voluntarily going to jail.
In this country.
30 seconds, Governor.
Look, let me tell you
No, I'm sorry. 30 seconds, Governor.
You make me laugh because
you
sit here in an answer. You sit here in an answer right.
I do appreciate his energy, though.
You sit here in an answer.
Go ahead, Governor Christie.
Hold on, Governor Christie.
Hold on.
Well, so listen, the more time we spend doing this, the less time they can talk about issues you want to talk about. So let's just get through this second.
You sit here talking about how you want to stand up for law,
yes,
and law and order. And the fact is that it can't be selective. In your book, you had much different things to say about Donald Trump than you're saying here tonight.
That's not true.
Well, it is very true.
That is not true.
It's very true. I read it,
because
and I
there's
know.
a difference between bad behavior and illegal behavior, Chris. And you as a prosecutor,
yell louder.
You're
louder, Chris. Come on.
There's a difference between bad behavior. And
come on, I love this twink. Put this twink in his place, bro.
To try to advance the interests of this government, except to put yourself forward as a candidate tonight. And here's the thing: we've stood up for law and order. I did it as U.S. attorney. I did it as governor, and I am not going to bow to anyone when we have a president of the United States who disrespects the Constitution. He said.
Your MSNBC contributor.
He said.
These are politicized indictments, and we have to call out the truth.
Martha, it's important to say that the president said, Donald Trump said, it's okay to suspend the Constitution. Now, the oath you take is to preserve, protect, and defend, not suspend. I will always stand up for our Constitution, regardless of the political pressure.
We have another question for you. We're going to get everyone in on this issue, but I have another question. Hold on, you will. President Trump's former vice president is on this stage tonight. He has faced hecklers on the campaign trail over his actions on January the 6th. On that day, the vice president moved forward with the certification of the election. So do you believe that Mike Pence did the right thing, Senator Scott? Do you believe he did the right thing?
Absolutely. He did the right thing. Number one. Number two.
Interesting cheers.
Asking ourselves a bigger question about the weaponization of the Department of Justice. When I'm president, the first thing I'll do is fire Merrick Garland. Second thing I'll do, fire Christopher Wray. because we need Lady Justice to wear a blindfold. Without that, no one has confidence in our justice system. 17% of Republicans have confidence in our Department of Justice. Here's why. We keep seeing not only the weaponization of the Department of Justice against political opponents, but also against parents who show up at school board meetings. They're called, under this DOJ, they're called domestic terrorists.
Firing Christopher Wray
that's not,
allowed
but
to
that's not
shut down the FBI. Actually have the courage to get it right.
Mr. Let me finish my comments.
No, I won't do that.
Not only that, in addition to that, we see the SWAT team.
Ladies and
show
gentlemen,
up
we
at
are all
pro-life
domestic terrorists.
because this DOJ uses their power, uses their authority, not just against political opponents, but against conservatives and conservative causes. It is time for a change.
We the victims, we can't do it.
Change to the great.
Hey, Barack Obama.
Green Earth.
We have an important
But Governor
question
DeSantis,
still
do you
answered.
believe that Mike Pence did the right thing on
Can't say
January
time for
6th?
here's what we
change.
need
That's
to do.
Obama's slogan.
We need to end the weaponization of these federal agencies.
But that's
and
not
I
the
will do
question.
that.
That's not the question.
I know, but here's the thing.
can answer the
This
question?
election is not about January.
Shut up, his mic. You didn't answer the question. Go fuck yourself,
It's
Ron.
about January 20th of 2025 when the next president is going to take office. I know what the Democrats would like to do. They want to talk about all these other issues, but we've got to focus on your future. We've got to focus on reversing the decline of our country.
Right.
I learned in the military, I was assigned with U.S. Navy SEALs in Iraq, that you focus on the mission above all else. You can't get distracted. So Republicans, we've got to look forward, and we've got to make sure that we're bringing the message that can win in November
Do not answer
2024.
the question. Do not answer the question.
Vice President Pence,
The mission of the President
what
of
do
the
you think,
United
Vice
States
President?
is to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. I think the American people deserve to know whether everyone on this stage agrees that I kept my oath to the Constitution that day.
Was it?
I still think that this guy on the left needs to talk. He's the only one who didn't raise his hand. That you defended.
So my opinion on answering this question from these people is the only person I give a fuck about what they have to say on this stage is Mike Pence, because he was the one that made the decision. I want him to explain why he made that choice. That's all I want to hear.
More important duty. So answer the question.
I've answered this before.
So yes.
Why are we, I got no beef with them, but here's the thing: is this
He's such a petulant child.
going forward? The rehashing of this.
And over
Let
a
me
year
go back.
ago, I said,
Governor Hutchinson.
Because like he just tells Ron to shut the fuck up because he's not answering the question.
Rehashing of this, I'll tell you,
Governor
the
DeSantis.
Democrats would love that, and they will win if we
Governor
let him get
DeSantis.
away with it. I'm not letting Biden hang out in the basement this time. We're going to run him ragged around this country, and we're going to hold him accountable.
Let me just say,
I hate every single one of these people.
former President Trump is beating you by 30, 40 points in many polls. So it is a factor in the GOP primary.
Get wrecked.
You did not raise your hand.
They're cooking them. I did not raise my hand because there's an important issue we as a party have to face. And over a year ago, I said that Donald Trump was morally disqualified from being president again as a result of what happened on January 6th. More people are understanding the importance of that, including
he looks like a COD bad guy
who says he may be disqualified under the 14th Amendment from being president again as a result of the insurrection. This is something that could disqualify him under the Constitution. And so, obviously, I'm not going to support somebody who's been convicted.
He's right, though. He's right, though. And they
He
need
is
to bring this up. Whether you think it's an insurrection or not, they can 14th Amendment him.
Mm-hmm.
So why would you put that? Why would you want to even like? It just makes it so
entertain the idea. Yeah.
Yeah, it just makes it so it's harder that you're going to take the office and hold the office. Like it's like why? Just phrase it as why are you going to let the Democrats continue to play these games with you? You know, or something like that.
Stop falling for that shit.
Or who has this?
Even though it's not a game, it's like
Constitution
definitely would get 14th
consistent with
Amendment.
RNC rules, and I hope everybody would agree with me.
We're going to get to a lot more time.
I'd like to answer.
This is what I wanted.
Hang on.
David,
I'd like to answer the question you asked.
I mean, I know you're a sophisticated guy,
Mike
The world
Pence
is a mess.
stood
The
for
world is as angry
Constitution.
as it gets.
And he deserves.
Well, you think this is going to cause a little more anger?
He deserves.
The world is an angry
place. Pence stood for the Constitution. And he deserves not grudging credit. He deserves our thanks as Americans.
Remember I said Chris Christie is an insider? He's not here to win, right? And he's here to build up the candidates that they want.
Americans for putting his oath of office and the Constitution of the United States before personal, political, and unfair pressure. And the argument that we need to have in this party before we can move on to the issues that Ron talked about is we have to dispense with the person who we need to suspend the Constitution to put forward his political career. Mike Pence said no.
As we need to talk to Ron.
That's also it's smart. It's smart because he's not only building up the idea that he proposed to suspend the Constitution, but he's also building up Mike Pence and also making it so he's taking the heat off himself by pushing it more on Mike Pence as well.
Yeah, that's very clever.
Do you agree that Vice President Pence did the right thing that day or not?
I do think that Vice President Pence
Of course
did the right thing, and I do think that we need to give him credit for that. But what I will also tell you is, look,
I think she's honestly the most qualified for the out of all these candidates. I just don't think she can win. I don't think she can win against Biden.
Let them decide. But what they will tell you is that it is time for a new generational conservative leader. We have to look at the fact that
I also don't think she would be a bad. She wouldn't be a bad conservative leader, and I obviously
she wouldn't
want
be
a conservative leader. You know,
that Trump is the most disliked politician in America. We can't win a general election that way.
She'll be like quiet and out of the way, which is how I would prefer a president to be, which is kind of how Biden is.
Happy to answer the question. Mike Pence did the right thing on January 6th.
Except for when he falls downstairs or trips over a sandbag.
You're going to talk about China, Ukraine, education. We are. China is the number one threat to our country, and every minute that these 8 candidates spend talking about the past instead about the future is time that is just you know who loves it? Biden loves it, but China loves it when we're talking about the past.
Okay, as promised, we were going to spend a few questions on it. Let people say what they wanted to say. And now, indeed, we are moving on to the subject.
The U.S. has committed nearly 77.
Can I speak on this issue? I was
You
kind of
did.
involved.
You answered on this.
You did.
You did
say
answer.
something.
Yeah.
We thought you were done, but you
No, I
please.
wasn't done.
Well, Mike, why don't you say this? Join me in making a commitment that on day one you would pardon Donald Trump. I'm the only candidate on the stage who had the courage to actually say it. That is how we move our nation.
Swear to fucking God, if that happens.
Forward. That's exactly right.
No. The response is we won't need to pardon him because the justice system will hold up that he's innocent. That's the response.
Yeah. That's a good response, yeah.
Be convicted of these crimes.
You should be able to make a commitment. The same justice system that was this
Here's
corrupt.
the difference between you and me.
Yeah, I'm not a professional politician.
Look at Mike Pence. He knew what to say.
Given pardons when I was governor of the state of Indiana. It usually follows a finding of guilt and contrition by the individual that's been convicted. So, it's not about looking back at January 2021.
I reckon Trump treated him like shit.
January 20th, 2017. I put my left hand on Ronald Reagan's Bible. I raised my right hand. And I took an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Damn right.
And it ended with a prayer.
This is what we need to get back to. This is how you save the Conservative Party.
I made to the American people, but I also made it to my Heavenly Father.
Oh, God damn.
Every day for 4 years, I strive to keep that oath. And everyone on the stage needs to make it clear whether or not they'll do the same. In the confidence of the American people.
Well, one guy pulled out a constitution.
Look, I've made it clear. I had hoped that the issues surrounding the 2020 election and the controversies around January 6th had not come to this.
Okay,
had not
shut
come to criminal proceedings. I would rather they had been resolved by the American people and the American people alone. But no one's above the law. And President Trump is entitled to the presumption of innocence that every American is entitled to. And we will make sure and extend that to him. But the American people deserve to know.
He's taking it.
That the
He's
president
going to keep taking it until they cut him.
me, in his request that I reject or return votes unilaterally, power that no vice president in American history had ever exercised or taken, he asked me to put him over the Constitution. And I chose the Constitution, and I always will. I had no
Vice
right to
President Pence.
overturn the election, and Kamala Harris will have no
He's doing
right
good.
to overturn the election.
It's the best
when we
performance
beat
I've
them
seen
in
from Pence.
2024.
Thank you, Vice President
Why did he
Pence.
say Kamala Harris?
Now we are moving on.
Go
to
back.
our-
I missed that.
The U.S. has committed nearly $77 billion in aid to the Ukraine war.
Uh-huh.
The administration is now asking Congress for $24 billion more. Regardless of that, the specifics of that plan, is there anyone on stage who would not support the increase of more funding to Ukraine?
Knew he was going to raise his hand. Knew he was going to raise his hand first. He's raised his hand every single time.
Swami.
Knew it.
But you're saying you would not too, Governor DeSantis?
I will have Europe pull their weight. Right now,
Isn't that what Trump was doing?
Trump
we
answer.
need to do, and I think our support should be contingent on them doing it. And I would have support in China to be able to take China and do what we need to do with China.
Mr. Ramaswamy, you would not support an increase of funding to Ukraine?
I would not. And I think that this is disastrous. That we
Why?
against an invasion across somebody else's border when we should use those same military resources to prevent across the invasion of our own southern border here in the United States of America.
We're sending weapons to Ukraine, not soldiers. Where are we pulling the soldiers from to put them at the border? Or are we just putting weapon caches out there at the border?
Just weapon caches for the cartels. Here, cartels. Here's some more 50 cals.
Further into China's
running out of ammo. Here's some bullets.
China alliance is the single greatest threat we face.
No, it's hilarious.
That we have professional politicians.
They're
on the
destroying. We're making them destroy each other.
To their Zelensky, without doing the same thing for people in Maui or the South Side of Chicago or Kensington.
Maui got this is misinformation because like the funding per person per capita is not the same. By ratio, Hawaii is getting more money than Ukraine is. Right?
Funny.
It's not like as much stockpile, right? Because like there's less people in Hawaii that need relief than there are in Ukraine.
Yes.
So
but comparatively, they're getting more.
Comparatively, per capita, they're getting more.
I think that we have to put the interests of Americans first. Secure our own border instead of somebody else's. And the reality is, this is also how we project strength by making America strong at home.
All right, we heard the names. Governor Christie first.
All right, look.
These guys suck at handling this debate.
Because I wanted to see for myself what Vladimir Putin's army was doing to the free Ukrainian people. And let me tell you, I want you all to look around this arena tonight and imagine that every one of these seats was filled. And if every one of them was filled, there would still be 2,500 more children outside to make over 20,000 who have been abducted, stolen, ripped from their mothers and fathers. Back to genocide, to be programmed to fight their own families. They have gouged out people's eyes, cut off their ears, and shot people in the back of the head, men, and then gone into those homes and raped the daughters and the wives who were left as widows and orphans. This is the Vladimir Putin. This is the Vladimir Putin who Donald Trump called brilliant and a genius. If we don't stand up against this type of autocratic killing in the world, we will be next.
Hang on.
You should have said genocide.
You were mentioned.
He should have.
Vice President Pence was mentioned. You get 30 seconds.
Yeah, well, let me be clear. Anybody that thinks that we can't solve the problems here in the United States and be the leader of the free world,
100%.
It's a pretty small.
This is what I say all the time because like it's such a everyone wants to focus on defunding the military and all that stuff and be like, this is why you don't have healthcare. No, it's not.
Yeah.
No, it's not because if the healthcare policy saves the government money, right? So by default, it's not. Stop trying to think that like you can get your solution by like defunding the military because it's not going to get defunded. We would all love to see it. A majority of the American people would love to see it, but it's not going to happen. We just have to accept it, right?
And even if it was defunded, that money isn't going into medical. It's disappearing. That money's not being spent anywhere if it was to be defunded and dismantled.
Well, it wouldn't
That's
be
the thing that they're
dismantled.
missing,
They're not
right?
going to dismantle it. It's like
No, but that money,
but
that
he's
extra
right.
money.
This is the thing. Is this like the military is like kind of like as far as like the average American voter, they keep us out of foreign policy for a reason. Military is fucking irrelevant. Like the leftover budget that we have is more than enough to do like most of the things that we need to do. You will get higher taxes if you do like everything, but
we can do both.
We can do both is correct.
We've been the leader of the free world and the arsenal of democracy for years. The Reagan Doctrine years ago made it clear. We said, if you're willing to fight the communists on your soil, we'll give you the means to fight them there so our troops don't have to fight them.
Rarely quoted.
Giveaway.
He also put his hand on his Bible earlier, too. He's appealing to the classical Republicans.
Across a NATO border, and frankly, our men and women of our armed forces are going to have to go and fight him. I want to let the Ukrainians fight and drive Putin and the Russians back out into Russia.
I want to just
so our
briefly
troops
address
aren't going to have
Pence.
to make that
Vice
fight.
President Pence.
Okay,
I have a news
Joe
flash.
Biden.
The USSR does not exist anymore. It fell back in 1990.
Did I say
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
The communists and the real communists that we have to address right now.
Have any idea what Vladimir Putin's aims
you
are?
already spoke. Now I actually have something to say.
Vladimir Putin has been reestablished the old Soviet sphere.
You've made
of
your point,
influence.
Vice President.
Now, if you think, I'm
This,
sorry,
this guy has no clue what he's talking about because Mike Pence is bang on.
and a murderer, and the United States of America needs to stand
A
against.
genocidal dictator.
Mr. Ramaswamy, 30 seconds.
Did he say that?
The real threat we face today is communist China. And we are driving Russia further into China's arms. The Russia-China military alliance is
Make them fight each other.
You still are defending genocide, though.
Talking about it. I am the only non-neocon on this stage. But keep us out of war.
Mr. Vice President, we can't hear. Mr. Vice President,
is to give Russia everything they've got.
Mr. Vice President,
give them a promise that Ukraine will never be in NATO, and then somehow
Never happened.
will not think about taking Taiwan. We achieve peace through
overwhelming firepower. Yes, yes. Pence gets it.
I think we need to
Nailed it.
Dude, he is so correct because it's like why would you deviate from what Biden is doing if your goal is stability? Like, like the people are gonna be like, oh, it's neocon. No, it's literally being like you can't move. Like you're literally blocking them in with military force to stop the invasion.
Yeah.
And like Ukraine, like I'm glad nobody has done the whole like, oh, we're gonna do the settlement thing yet. That's gonna come next though.
Establish some ground rules.
When we hear this bell, that means your time's done. So, Mr. Vice President, we appreciate your aggressiveness here. 30 seconds is 30 seconds. Mr. Ramaswamy, you were mentioned. You get 30 seconds.
So the reality is that today, Ukraine is not a priority for the United States of America. And I think that the same people who took us into the Iraq War, the same people who took us into the Vietnam War, you cannot start another no-win war. And I do not want to get to the point where we're sending our military resources abroad when we could be better using them here at home to protect our own borders, protect the homeland.
All right.
That will be my top priority for policy.
We gave you more than the 30 seconds in the revive. So I do want to get to some other people because everybody, we respect everybody's time here. So Governor Haley, you did not raise your hand, meaning that you would support more funding for the Ukraine war. You have said of Governor DeSantis.
Why don't they say ambassador? Wouldn't that be a higher title?
What do you mean?
She was the ambassador to the UN. She was the
Then a
US
governor? Maybe?
Yeah. Like she's voting
Do you retain that title?
I don't know. Maybe that's the thing. It's like you have to be an ambassador to be called an ambassador.
Yeah, I feel like you don't retain that title.
So I mean, she's definitely not a governor now.
No.
I don't think she is. I think she's a governor first.
Yeah, but governor is something that will.
Yeah.
That you didn't appreciate it when he initially called it a territorial dispute. Why?
First of all, the American president needs to have moral clarity.
Remember how I said I would love it if Maureen Williamson just shifted one thing into her rhetoric on this, and it's that Russia invaded in 2014 in the Donbass and Crimea. That's what I want to hear from one of these neocons.
Yes, that would be great.
They need to know the difference between right and wrong. They need to know the difference between good and evil.
I wish I was your mother,
Look at the
Vladimir
situation with
Putin.
Russia. Here you have a pro-American country that was invaded by a thug. So when you want to talk about what has been given to Ukraine, less than 3.5% of our defense budget has been given to Ukraine. If you look at the percentages per GDP, a lot of European countries have given more than the U.S. But what's really important is going back to when China and Russia held hands, shook hands before the Olympics, and named themselves unlimited partners. A win for Russia is
well done.
China. We have to know that Ukraine is the first line of defense for us. And the problem that Vivek doesn't
That's a super, super rare thing that nobody talks about.
trying to eat Taiwan.
That China and Russia deemed themselves whatever title they gave themselves, right?
Well, I mean, that's the thing is she's going to have the best foreign policy up here just because she was an ambassador.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Wants to go and stop funding Israel. You don't do that to friends. What you do instead is you have the backs of your friends. Ukraine is the front line of defense. Putin has said, once Russia takes Ukraine, Poland and the Baltics are next. That's a world war. We're trying to prevent war. Look at what Putin did today. He killed Prigozhin. When I was at the UN, the Russian ambassador suddenly died. This guy is a murderer, and you are choosing a murderer over a...
Well done, Nikki. Well done.
I still think his cheers were louder for not supporting Ukraine.
You know, Nikki, I wish you
of course they were.
career on the boards of Lockheed and Raytheon.
You know, I'm not on the boards of Lockheed and Raytheon. And you know,
Boeing came off of it, but you've been pushing this lie. You've been pushing
Get him
all week.
Get him, Nikki.
To Israel, you want to
okay, let me address that. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to address each of those right now. This is
no, don't let him talk, Nikki.
Don't let him talk.
Through, Nikki.
Go.
Come on.
Keep going.
I also appreciate she's wearing like the classic like a classic like almost Jackie Kennedy look, but doing it in like white. Don't let him talk, Nikki. Keep blocking him. Keep blocking him. Fuck this guy.
Will never be stronger than by the end of my first term. But it's not a client relationship. It is a friendship. And you know what friends do? Friends help each other stand on their own 2 feet. So I will lead Abraham Accords 2.0. I will partner with Israel to make sure Iran never is nuclear armed. But you know what I love about Israel? And I've been there probably in the last 10 years more than most people on this stage. You know what I love about it?
Not more than her. Not more than her, dude.
I love that they have a national identity.
Bro, she went there when the
homeland. And
when
so,
they
yes,
changed
I
the
want to
capital
learn
to
from the friends
Jerusalem.
that we're supporting. What puzzles
you
me
want to cut the
is
aid
I want to
off.
learn
And
from
let me
those and
tell
apply
you,
those to protect
it's
our
not
homeland.
that
Keep going, Nikki. Keep going.
Go, Nikki.
It needs Israel.
Okay,
They
Governor
are the
DeSantis,
front line of defense.
you were mentioned at the territorial dispute. Not only
No, it's
Well
not
done,
a
Nikki.
territorial dispute
President of
either.
the United States, your first obligation
She's fired up.
our country and its people. And that means you're sending all this money, but you're not doing what we need to do to secure our own
Tim Scott
border.
fall
We have
asleep?
tens of thousands of people
Must have.
who are being
At the
killed
same
because
Yes, Nikki. Yeah, Nikki.
So I am going to declare it a national emergency.
Crazy that the
I'm
two
not gonna
people who
send
worked at
troops to
Trump
Ukraine, but I am
admins are
gonna
the
send
ones
them
that
to
I
our
like the
southern
most
border.
right now.
When these drug lords are bringing fentanyl
Shut up.
across the
Fuck off.
border, that's going to be the last thing they do. We're going to use force, and we're going to leave them stone cold dead.
we're actually going to move on to
That was psychotic. Go back and watch him speak into the microphone. That was nuts.
warships to move on to China.
Pushers are bringing fentanyl across the border. That's going to be the last thing they do. We're going to use force, and we're going to leave them stone cold dead.
We're actually going to move on to China.
What a psycho.
I mean, it's torture.
China has the
This
biggest
is true.
navy in the world, the biggest army in the world. Now they have warships off the coast of Alaska. They are threatening
They also,
Taiwan.
did you see China?
In coming years, China will have
Did you see China just lost a sub?
1,500 nuclear warheads, it's believed. The U.S. just arrested 2 sailors accused of spying for China within our military. So the question is, how would you deter China as a president, Burgum?
Well, This is the number one issue we're facing. And of course, we haven't been talking about it. And we act like that letting Russia win in Ukraine is like a gimme as opposed to a gift to China. Russia has become China's gas station. But how would we do it? The Biden administration is a complete fail. China imports 10 million barrels of oil a day, more than any other country in the world. They do not even have all the food they need to feed everybody in that country. So they don't have energy security or food security. But the Biden administration sends Blinken, Yellen over there. They're over there. They don't even bring up energy because they're too busy trying to kill the U.S. energy here. And what we need to do is not meetings.
Okay, bro.
Because something that would send a lot more than a press release is actually Harpoon missiles. We need anti-ship missiles on Taiwan.
Nice.
The way that you have a war never start, which is the goal, the way you have peace through strength is that you actually have strength. You actually have deterrence. And what we have
Biden's policy. Good to know.
Is an example of when deterrence fail. What is an example?
There was no deterrence.
Disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan.
Yep, that's good.
Green lighted Putin moving into Ukraine.
No.
And then now they see weakness, and when they see weakness, they make a move. And we have to be strong. And
that's the main reason he was pulling out of Afghanistan. He knew Ukraine was coming.
Absolutely, we could do that. Because guess what? There's only 19,855 authorized people for the Border Patrol, but they're not all staff because the Biden administration doesn't enforce law enforcement. But Biden administration wanted to put 87,000 people in the IRS as opposed to giving the money in this fort we need to our own Border Patrol.
Okay.
Senator Scott.
Finally, Scott.
Question.
Can I speak about China?
Let's fire the 87,000 IRS agents and hire or double the number of Border Patrol agents. I just left Yuma, Arizona about 2 weeks ago. The
Reassign the IRS agents to the borders. Make them use their guns.
It's led to the death of 70,000 Americans because of fentanyl. Plus 6 million illegal crossings since President Biden has taken office, and 200 people on our national security watch list have been caught at our border. How many have not been caught at our southern border? If we just spend $10 billion, we could finish the wall. For $5 billion more,
they're auctioning off the wall, my dude.
Very great technology on 70,000 Americans a year. That should be the priority of this government. And as the next president of the United States, I will make that border wall complete.
There are many more questions on China. I do want to ask.
Awful delivery.
Three more. It's not just the 70,000 from fentanyl. We've lost 200,000 people to overdoses since Biden took office. That's 300 people a day. We're taking mass casualties, and that's a statistic, but these are sons and daughters, nieces and nephews that we're losing.
Humanize your statistic. Good
down
job.
there flying night helicopter missions from San Diego to the Gulf Coast, trying to stop these transnational criminal organizations. They've got better funding on their side than we've got on our side.
Speaking of which, Governor Hutchinson, images from earlier this month, Governor Hutchinson,
with Mexico,
Vice President Pence, images from earlier this month. Vice President Pence, it really doesn't help. I'm asking a question. Earlier this month, showed suspected cartel members crossing into Texas with rifles. Do you consider this an invasion? Would you authorize lethal force along that border?
There would be lethal force used by the Border Patrol, law enforcement as needed to protect the border. Absolutely. When you look at the military has to be used for intelligence gathering purposes. This is not unusual. Whenever I was in the Bush administration, we went down there and met with President Vicente Fox of Mexico and asked his help in going after the cartels. And he looked at me and said, they're a problem to us as well. And so we joined together and we took down
good luck with AMLO.
Leading the
He hates y'all.
Cartel, and that made a difference. Ramon was shot and killed, and Ben Amin was captured. Cooperation makes
Nobody
a
knows what
difference.
that is
We cannot
anymore.
be successful going against the cartel unless we bring in Mexico as a partner. We have to
Good
use
luck.
economic pressure to accomplish that.
That is true.
Obrador has not been helpful, and we have to use economic pressure that this administration is not using.
Appreciate how much foreign policy is being covered.
Is critical.
That's good.
Done it. We know what needs to be done. The military has to be limited in its use. When after 9/11, we had the global war on terror, and guess what? We protected the border at the same time.
Do
You can
not
do both.
do not invoke. Just don't do, like, it's the meme 9/11. You know,
Yeah.
invoking 9/11. You mentioned you were the Bush admin. Like, nah. Everyone, including Republicans, hates the war in Iraq. Don't even go there. Don't even remind people it happened. Don't bring up 9/11.
So, as president, would you support sending U.S. Special Forces over the border into Mexico to take out fentanyl labs, to take out...
They wouldn't even be, you wouldn't, we have law enforcement agencies that would do those clandestine missions. That wouldn't even be like special forces, like law enforcement agencies outside the rules of operation. Like, we've done it before. I mean, look at, they took down Escobar. That wasn't the military.
Yeah, that's true.
drug cartel operations. Would you support that kind of American military?
Of course he is.
Use.
Yes. and
Drone
we'll do
strikes.
it
He's
on
going
day
to say
one.
he drone strikes them.
Cartels are killing tens of thousands of our fellow citizens. You want to talk about a country in decline? You have the cartels controlling a lot of part of your southern border. We have to reestablish the rule of law, and we have to defend our people. The President of the United States has got to use all available powers as Commander-in-Chief to protect our country and to protect the people. So when they're coming across, yes, we're going to use lethal force. Yes, we reserve the right to operate. How many more tens of thousands are we going to let to die? I am sick. I've met angel moms throughout this country. I met a lady in Texas named Tracy, and her son took one Percocet that was laced with fentanyl, immediately died. That is happening all across this country because of the poison that they are bringing in. So as president, would I use force? Would I treat them as foreign terrorist organizations? You're darn right I would.
Darn tootin'.
Honestly, I think if he used the word damn there, the crowd would have exploded with hype.
I agree.
Vice President Pence.
Especially if they're like, whoa, whoa, watch the language. And these guys get all uppity about it. They'll explode even harder.
Yeah.
That you should have dropped it a tactical curse.
Why would you be
even though it's not really a curse
this
word?
issue?
Not really.
Governor DeSantis on the campaign trail refers to your administration as not finishing the wall.
Right. Right. Look, we secured the southern border of the United States of America and reduced illegal immigration and asylum abuse by 90%. When Joe Biden took over, he threw open the southern border of the United States, and the wave of humanity, the wave of fentanyl.
Nikki Haley, I think, said yes to backing him up.
Wave of human tragedy across this country. But Martha, you began this evening talking about who is best prepared to be the next president of the United States.
Getting a
to
little
tell you,
leg.
with all humility, I was there when we negotiated through the government shutdown and got the funding available to build the wall. I was negotiating on Capitol Hill around the clock. I negotiated the Remain in Mexico policy on behalf of the President of the United States. And AC, you're so right. It's because we used economic.
Was that you, or was it the thing?
No. It's just
pressure
well,
to bring the Mexicans to the table, and they allowed us to have people wait in Mexico while they applied for asylum. It ended asylum abuse
Starting to struggle.
overnight. We got the Mexicans to deploy their National Guard to their southern border and to our southern border as never before. And I want to promise you, as President of the United States of America, I will engage Mexico the exact same way, and we will partner with the Mexican military, and we will.
Yeah.
This honestly needs more Christie tearing people apart.
I kind of agree.
Issue that is related to this
Didn't help at all.
is that almost 7 million migrants.
We've heard less from Christie and Scott than the other two, like, nobodies. You know, the other two nobodies have had more time.
Well, they're trying to make their mark, right?
About the 7 million who are here. How would you handle them? What would you do?
Look, Martha, the first thing we need to do is to stop any more from coming. That's the first thing we need to do. Then the next thing we need to do with the folks that are here is to, again, as we've talked about all night tonight, We have to have law and order in this country. We have to enforce the law. And what that means is to make sure that people who come here illegally are not rewarded for being here illegally. We have so many wonderful people from around the world who are waiting in line, following the law to try to come here and pursue the American dream. And those people are waiting and waiting and waiting because we haven't dealt with the problem of the folks who are here. We have to have them detained. We have to make sure that they are not rewarded for having broken the law. And one last thing on this fentanyl issue. With China, we can't take our eye off of that ball. Right. Yes, it's important that we secure the border. Very important, as I just said. But China is sending these chemicals to these drug cartels.
Thank you.
The fentanyl that is killing hundreds of thousands of our citizens. The Chinese are engaging in an act of war against us, killing our citizens. We better make.
I would have used like what do they call it?
In our
Unrestricted
conversations with
warfare.
China and
Yeah.
about, because if we don't,
Or even called it biological or chemical warfare.
You send those people back.
of course, you'd have to.
We have a lot of issues that Americans care about. Next up, we're going to talk about the crisis in education, as millions of American children are not proficient in exposing chronic absenteeism, deep declines for reading and math for 15-year-olds and 13-year-olds. Governor DeSantis, you would eliminate, you said, the Department of Education. But as president, would you still have a responsibility to fix this crisis as we see it?
Absolutely. The decline in education is one of the major reasons why our country is in decline. We need education in this country, not indoctrination in this country.
Says Ron DeSantis.
We stood up for what was right. First, we had schools open during COVID, and a lot of the problems that we've seen are because these lockdown states lock their kids out of school for a year and a half. That was wrong. We stood up. I took a lot of fire for that. I was pilloried by the media, but I stood for our kids. And as president, I'll stand for you and your kids as well. But we have to make sure that what our schools are doing is focusing on solid academics. In Florida, we eliminated critical race
You're
theory
also
from our
teaching
And
slavery
you added
is good.
PragerU.
Gender ideology,
And that
from our
and we
kids in
started
schools.
teaching the benefits of
We
slavery.
have elevated the importance of American civics and teaching our kids about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. As president, I'm going to lead an effort to increase civic understanding and knowledge of our Constitution.
Not a bad thing.
Graduating students that don't have any foundation in what it means to be an American.
Mr. Ramaswamy, Mr. Ramaswamy, hold on, Senator Scott. You've said that the Department of Education.
Shut up, Tim.
ATF, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the IRS, the Department of Commerce, many of these should not exist.
That's correct.
So to the education question, how would you deal with the crisis?
So look, we have a crisis of achievement. Let's shut down the head of the snake, the Department of Education. Take that $80 billion, put it in the hands of parents across this country. This is the civil rights.
Is this what we're doing today? I'm assuming.
Allow any parent to choose where they send their kids to school. End the teachers' unions at the local level to allow public schools to compete. And then revive our national identity.
That's the only talking point they always
repeat.
repeat.
Should have to pass the same civics test that, frankly, every immigrant, including my mother, had to pass in citizen of this country. And the fact of the matter is,
apparently they're insane.
Policy that also rests with the family. I didn't grow up in money, but the word privilege gets used a lot. Well, you know what? I did have the ultimate privilege of two parents in the house with a focus on educational achievement. And I want every kid to enjoy that. So part of the problem is
you made an Indian family. What did you do well in school? What?
Have a man in the house than to have a man in the house contributing to an epidemic of fatherlessness. And I think that goes hand in glove with the education crisis as well, because we have to remember
banning divorce.
Education starts with the family, and the nuclear family is the greatest form of governance
ban divorce
known to mankind.
Ban divorce.
Ban divorce.
Governor Haley has said that biological boys playing in girls' sports is the women's issue of our time.
Here we go.
This is the thing that lost us when she talked about the
It sure was.
thing.
You said that even though you signed
Why is she not in the
on
kitchen?
this in North Dakota, that there hadn't been one instance where it was actually needed. Are you saying that you think that too much is made of this issue?
No, I'm saying in North Dakota, we made a priority of protecting women's sports, and we've done that in our state. But I would absolutely do that. But I do think when we start talking about education and we think that we're going to have a federal government one size fits all, we're just completely losing track of the fact that education differs by state. Some school districts are doing a fantastic job, some less so. But the idea that every school district in the state and every teacher is somehow indoctrinating people is just false. You know, when I was building a company from scratch, you know, with small town kids, and we went, you know, grew up in a town of 300, but we built a global company in 132 countries with over 100,000 customers. We listened to those customers. We spent time with them. We talked to them. We did that. And as governor,
shut up, Chinchilla.
Education is one of the biggest part of a state budget. So as a governor, I shadow a student. I don't, the night before I find out the student finds out, I'm going to go to every class with them. I don't sit and lecture school districts how to do it. I go and see the experience. And there's a lot of things that have to change. But what needs to change in education is it's innovation. We're doing it the same way we did it 50 years ago with innovation, not regulation. I would get rid of the Department of Education. I would give block grants to schools, but I'd give them on merit based on who's doing the most innovative. I just got done holding the 7th annual.
Oh, so more power to the white schools.
Education. You should
Yeah.
see what people are doing when you
I mean, that's one way you can interpret it.
No, we need the main thing that we need is that statewide. It needs to be a flat tax statewide.
Yeah.
It's not. You still pay the same local school tax. It's not going to raise or lower any school taxes, but it gets distributed across the state evenly.
I'll tell you,
Yeah.
as you know, as a parent, the one thing you want is for your child to have a better life than you did. And we can talk about all of these things, and there's a lot of crazy woke things happening in schools.
Somebody said woke.
Got to get these kids reading.
I lost another point.
Can't read by 3rd grade. They're 4 times less likely to graduate high school. So we need to make sure we bring in reading remediation all over this country. We need transparency in the classroom because parents should never have to wonder what's being said or taught to their children in the classroom. Parents need to be deciding which schools their kids go to because they know
School
best.
choice.
And let's put vocational classes back into the high schools. Let's teach our kids
nice.
to build things
School
again.
choice is they always got to.
We allow
Like,
that.
what
School
even
choice
is
and
school?
TAFE, that's good.
School choice isn't even a
I will
thing.
always say,
It's like
I'm
such
going
a
to fight
stupid
for
thing.
girls all day
Well, it's just
long
removing
because
zoning from schools, really.
Strong girls become strong women. Strong
charter
women
schools
become
are fucking
strong leaders.
awful.
And biological boys don't
Some are
belong in the
good.
locker rooms of any of our girls.
Another point on
We're
education.
going to start the lightning round, and the first question is going to go to you, Vice President. So this is a lightning round of questions.
Oh, yeah, good luck with this.
President Biden will be 82 years old on Inauguration Day. Nearly 70% of Americans say that he is too old to serve. Should presidents have to pass a mental and physical test in order to serve, Vice President Pence?
Physical? No.
Well, it might be a good
Yeah,
idea.
physical,
Everybody in Washington, D.C.
mental,
pass a mental
absolutely.
But 30 seconds, no. The American people can make those judgments. But let me say,
I agree.
I'm running for president of the United States because we don't need a president who's too old. And we don't need a president who's too young. We need a president who's been there. We need a president who knows how Congress works, how the White House works, how states work. And on this education issue, Martha, I was fighting against No Child Left Behind when Republicans were doubling the Department of Education.
Nice.
I'll also shut down
No
the
Child
federal
Left Behind
Department
is
of
an awful
Education.
Bush
And when I was
policy.
governor, doubled the size of the largest school choice program in America. And we'll
Nope,
give
school choice.
to
That's what
every
they want.
family in America
So
when I'm in the White House.
This is a lightning round, Mr. Ramaswamy. I think you were mentioned there. You're 38. You're the youngest on the stage. You've said, and you just said, you want a civics test or public service for those under 25 to be able to vote. So the question is, do you want a mental acuity test for presidents over 70?
Racist
I
law.
believe in the people of this country to tell.
I'm bringing back the black codes, is what this guy's
A
saying.
thinking agent in the White House, which we don't have in there today. And I will tell you, I want to address Vice President Pence's comment. I think we do need somebody of a different generation to lead this nation forward. Look at the way I've run this campaign. Going to the south side of Chicago, to Kensington, in the middle of Philadelphia, where traditional Republican candidates don't go. We have an opportunity to build a
because you're a populist.
to deliver a landslide. And I think I'm the only
Interesting.
candidate in this world, black or white, to bring all of those voters along to deliver a Reagan 1980 revolution. We're going to do it in 2024.
Oh, bro, you fucked up. Pause. Okay. Pence has quoted Reagan at you twice, and you've turned to him and said you didn't know what the fuck he was talking about when Pence was talking about Reagan policies. So to bring up a Reagan policy now is so stupid of you. He's shown what an idiot he is so many times.
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
30 second quick answer.
You guys need to get control of this debate.
Everybody's going to get a chance.
Listen, we're getting control of the debate. This is a lightning round, not rolling thunder. Governor Hutchinson, you have 30 seconds on the same question.
On education, first of all, look at Arkansas. We have to.
He probably thought this is such a thing. I can't wait.
Science education. We led the nation in computer science education, going from 1,100 students to 23,000 students taking it. This is how you compete with China. As president of the United States, I will make sure we go from 51% of our schools offering computer science to every school in rural areas and urban areas offering computer science for the benefit of our kids, and we can compete with China.
It should happen, honestly.
Thank you, sir. This is coming to you. We're trying to do a quick round of different topics here. So, Senator Scott, faith is on decline in this country.
Also, they asked him the same question. The question wasn't about education.
Is there a role for a president of the United States in changing that? What would you do to change that?
Well, our nation was founded upon
terrible delivery
Christian values that has made this the greatest nation on God's green earth. I'm a big believer in Ephesians 3:20 that God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or imagine. Our responsibility should be to model the behavior we want others to follow. On education.
Bomb the world.
The only way we change education in this nation is to break.
The question isn't about education anymore. Will you all shut up?
They are standing in the door.
Everyone needs to say that they support school choice here, I guess.
Into failing schools and locking them out of the greatest future they could have.
As president, Governor DeSantis, would you support some mandatory military service for all Americans?
I think it should be voluntary. I'm somebody that volunteered to serve, inspired by September 11th, and I deployed to Iraq.
And I tortured
US
people.
Navy SEALs in places like Fallujah, Ramadi.
He's mentioned the SEALs
And
twice
it's,
now.
Something that I think has taught me, when you go in that type of environment, anything you have, your personal agenda, you check it at the door. You go there, and it's about focusing on the mission above all else. And guys come together and they get it done. And that's how I would view being the president of the United States. It's not about me.
Like a military dictatorship.
Side issues. My sole focus will be
I'm
on
bringing
your
torture
future
in.
and reversing this country's decline.
Okay.
Now for something
You need to say other things besides the
This is for
country's in
you,
decline.
Governor Christie, do you believe that the recent
Very pessimistic.
Yeah, because like a majority of the just because like a majority of the voters aren't going to be people who feel decline.
No.
But okay, we've been hearing a lot of
Shut up. They're talking about UFOs.
testimony in Congress, and people are taking this a lot more seriously. And we're hearing that
Come on, you're giving this to Christie? Come on.
if you were president, Governor Christie, would you level with the American people about what the government knows about these possible
Look, Martha,
encounters?
and especially coming from
We're having a hearing right now. What is he supposed to do?
It's horrible that just because I'm from New Jersey, you asked me about unidentified flying objects and Martians. We're different, but we're not that different. Look, of course, the job of the President of the United States is to level with the American people about everything. The job of the President of the United States is to stand for
Turn it
truth.
away from aliens. Nobody cares
The job
about
of the
this.
President of the United States is to be a role model for our
No,
children
end it with
and our
upholding the
grandchildren.
Constitution.
And so
To
whether it
boo
was
again.
UFOs or this problem of education, and Tim's right, by the way, and I started this in 2010.
He's propping up another guy,
To the
see?
teachers unions in New Jersey and drove them down to an all-time low popularity rating because they were putting themselves before our kids. That is the biggest threat to our country, not UFOs.
Okay. Well, coming up, we've got closing arguments. Plus, right after the debate, Hannity is
one of those guys didn't get a
room right here in the five.
Yeah, a couple of them didn't get
The
questions.
reaction from
The one guy at the end didn't.
as soon as they step off the stage. We'll be back after this. 20 years ago, 70%.
You fuck off. 20 years ago.
Post 9/11.
Yeah, right when the Iraq War was starting. Fuck off.
That number has now plummeted to just 39%.
That's not
In his
high.
pitch to get to the Oval Office, President Reagan called America the shining city on a hill, a beacon of hope and optimism.
So in your closing statement tonight, please tell American voters why you are the person who can inspire this nation to a better day. These are 45 seconds, and we begin with Governor Burgum.
I understand why America's hurting. Biden's inflation is
They
choking
should have
us.
started with the other side because he didn't get
I grew up in a small town. My dad,
We know.
when I was
Shut up.
a freshman in high school. My mom, widow of 3, went back to work. Every job I had growing up was one where I took a shower at the end of the day, not at the beginning of the day.
Why not both?
Our cities are less safe because of the fentanyl pouring into this country.
You already
Our
said this.
economy is being crushed by Biden's energy policies, which are raising the cost of every product you buy, not just the gas pump.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I'll do as president, I'll secure the border. I'll get this economy sprinting, not crawling like it is right now. And I would say that other thing is for sure, when I'm on a horseback in the Badlands of North Dakota, it looks like the horizon is just limitless. And when you can almost see beyond that horizon, you can see that this great country, our future is unlimited. But we've got to focus on innovation, not regulation. We've got to cut the red tape. We got to drive ourselves forward. The way we win the Cold War with China is by growing our economy and through innovation. And as president,
shut up.
Bring out the best of America. I will improve every American life.
What was this
horseback
shit?
He's a rootin' tootin' countryman.
Our nation is in trouble.
Our
It's in
nation.
trouble because of failed leadership. And the solution is not 4 more years of Joseph Biden. The solution is
You got to
not
admit,
4
that's a
more
puppet-ass
years
name.
of Donald Trump. The solution
Hutch?
is new leadership
Joseph Biden.
that can bring
No, Hutchinson.
bold ideas to America
Hutch is a
and to
puppet
bring
name.
out the best of America. A president.
You can see the wood lines in his face, you know, when they have the, you know, how the puppets are.
Of our people. That's what Ronald Reagan did. And he did it with
Oh, come
optimism
on.
and hope
You
of our
can't all be
country
Mike
with
Pence
consistent
today.
Conservatism. That's exactly what I bring. As president, I'll bring out the best of America in terms of individual responsibility, building our
Props on
economy,
Nikki
in
Haley for
terms of
doing Margaret
securing our
Thatcher and
border,
being different.
enforcing the rule
Yes,
of law.
yeah.
I'll bring out the best of America in terms of our national character, our faith, and our hope for the future. Join in this fight, asa2024.com.
Thank you. Senator Scott.
He has a website, unlike
Thank you.
Williams.
I was a disillusioned young man growing up in a single-parent household, mired in
We know.
poverty.
We know.
I wondered if the American dream was real for a kid like me. I can stand before you today
You said
and
this.
say the dream is alive,
said this.
it is well, and it is healthy. I had the good
Okay, so we're not
fortune
in
of a mom
decline.
who worked 16-hour days, making sure we
You
had
said
food on
this.
our tables. She taught me that if you're able-bodied in America, you work. If you take out a loan, you pay it back. If you commit a violent crime, you go to jail.
Prison.
If God made you a man, you play sports against men.
Your mom didn't tell you that because that would be stupid.
I'm Tim Scott. I'm asking you for your vote. And if you're in Iowa, I'm asking you to caucus for me. You can go to votetimscott.com for more information or to make a contribution.
Governor Christie.
First guy didn't give his website.
Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Martha. Look, everybody on
Oh,
this stage
only
wants
person
be
to
the
say
next
thank
president
you
of the
so
United
far.
States. And the only way that's going to happen is if we beat Joe Biden. I'm the only one on this stage who's ever beaten the Democratic incumbent in an election. I did it in a deep blue state.
Very interesting point.
I think he could beat Joe Biden, honestly, but he's not going to be voted for by the Republicans. He could beat him because he's moderate enough.
And he was defeated by a conservative governor.
And he's a better talker and better shit
Who had to
talker.
get results, who stood for the truth, who cared about accountability, and stood strong and hard against waste. Those are the very things that I did in my 8 years as governor of New Jersey. And it's exactly what I'll
You
do
collapsed the
as
economy.
president of the United States. Believe me, the Democrats want.
You
some of the
left with like a
nominee who's never
14%
beaten the
approval
Democratic
rating,
incumbent.
Chris.
I'm the one who can win this race. And if you give me the chance, I will restore our country by winning it.
Thank you.
I think he does have the best chance to beat Biden, though. Nikki probably the second.
Several weeks ago,
Mike
I dropped
the
my
third
husband,
right
Michael,
now.
a combat veteran from
DeSantis,
Afghanistan,
no chance.
off at 4 a.m. for another year-long deployment. I watched him and 230 soldiers pick up their 2 duffel bags of belongings to go to a country they had never been, all in the name of protecting America. If they are willing to protect us from there, we should be willing to fight for America here.
What did they
I will
protect
beat
exactly?
Joe Biden, and he knows that. I will strengthen our
Just the
economy, and
rhetoric.
we'll bring
It's
this
just
inflation down.
like how
We will
Hassan
put
thinks that they say they're
transparency in the
defending
classroom.
democracy. They
We will
never say
secure
that.
our
They always say
borders.
they're
We will
protecting
have
the
backs
country.
of our law enforcement, and we will make sure we have a strong national security. And once again, we will make sure we have an America that is strong and proud. We have a country to save. Join us. Go to NikkiHaley.com and let's get it done.
Vice President Pence.
I think she's gotten the best cheers.
So far, yeah.
Thank you, Brad and Martha, for this evening. It's an honor to be here.
Great.
Biden has a weak
Thank you very much.
America at
No,
home.
adding in the honor to be there. He's been,
Disastrous withdrawal from
he's,
Afghanistan. The war on
one upping
energy,
Christie here.
Runaway spending that launched the worst inflation in 40 years, a crisis at our southern border. and
Nikki
assault
Haley's the
on our
only one that
values
said the
and
country's
liberties.
fine.
And the American people have had enough. But I know we can bring it back. But different times call for different leadership. The Republican Party owes the American people a choice. Proven leadership at the national level that knows
I thought
how
it
to
was
move a
different
conservative
leadership.
agenda forward. We proved in the Trump-Pence years you can turn this country around faster than you can imagine. And I have faith we will again. Because I have faith in the American people. The good, decent, hardworking, faith-filled, idealistic people of this country. And I have faith that God is not done with America yet. And if we will renew our faith in one another and renew our faith in Him who has ever guided this nation since we arrived on these wilderness shores.
All right,
I
Churchy,
know the
enough.
best days for the greatest nation on earth are yet to come.
Thank you. Mr. Ramaswamy.
The best is yet to come. That's that Coke headline that one lady
and
said.
I grew up into a generation where we were taught to celebrate our diversity and our differences so much that we forgot all of the ways we are really just the same as Americans, bound by a common set of ideals that set this nation into motion in 1776. And this is our moment to
70-75.
revive those common ideals. God is real. There are two genders. Fossil fuels are a requirement for
They
human
didn't say any of this.
prosperity.
This did
Reverse
not happen in
racism is
70-75.
racism.
Oh my
An open
God.
border is not a border.
Oh my God.
Parents determine the
Oh my
education
God.
of their children. The nuclear
School
family
choice.
is the
See,
greatest
people
form of
cheered for school
dominance
choice again.
known to man. Capitalism lifts us up from poverty. There are
Okay.
3 branches of government, not 4. And the U.S. Constitution, it is the strongest guarantor of freedom in human
Okay, so now you're
history. That is
pro-Constitution.
what won us the American Revolution. That is what will win us the
Bro,
revolution.
come
of
on.
2024.
Hang on. Go back. Go back 30 seconds or so. Did he just say the Constitution won us the American Revolution?
There are 3 branches of government, not 4. And the U.S. Constitution, it is the strongest guarantor of freedom in human history. That is what won us the American Revolution. That will win us the revolution of 2024.
I'm pretty sure that they were written after.
The war starts 70-75. It's July 3rd, 70-76. Declaration of Independence. I think.
And the Constitution took years to come into effect, right? Like,
1787. Ratified
Yeah,
in 1788.
I thought it was 17 something.
And he wants people to pass a civics test to vote.
That's so funny. All right, let's go Ron DeSantis.
Governor? This is our time for
No,
change.
thank you.
We will send Joe Biden back to his basement, and we will reverse.
You didn't thank them
decline
for
of this
coming
country.
and letting you
I'm
hear.
a blue collar kid. I work minimum wage.
No, you're
jobs
not.
To be able to
No,
make
you're not.
ends meet. I
No, you
understand
certainly
the
aren't.
importance of the American dream, and I know how that slipped away from so many millions of Americans. We'll restore it. I'm a veteran who served in Iraq. I know what it means to put service above
And Guantanamo
self.
Bay.
I'm also a dad and a husband, 6'5" and 3-year-old. I understand the importance of protecting parents' rights and the well-being of our children. In Florida, we showed it could be done. I made promises and I delivered on all of those promises. 2024 is make or break. We're not getting a mulligan. No excuses. I will get the job done.
You're a
and as your
mulligan.
president, I will not let you down. God bless you all.
No website.
Well, we want to say thank you. Thank you to all the candidates on the stage tonight, and thank you to Milwaukee.
Thank you.
Fucking the one guy is sitting there up there like this.
From debates to primaries to the general election and the conventions
Vivek,
before that.
he's up there
Thanks
doing
for
the
joining
thumbs
us.
up at the end.
Oh no, another Fox News.
Anyway, who wins? Not Chris Christie. They didn't give him the mic.
I don't know. Mike Pence did pretty well.
I
but
think,
according to the crowd, Ramaswamy did.
Yeah. I think Mike Pence did the strongest recovery after Tucker Carlson raked him over the coals over Ukraine because he supports Ukraine. So I think Mike Pence had the strongest recovery performance. DeSantis is still kind of flatlining. He was better here than he's been before. Tim Scott napping through the whole thing. I think everyone but Tim Scott was okay. And Chris Christie, just because they didn't give him the mic, which is dumb because he's the best. He's the best. He would have made it so fun.